My name is Angela, and we were involved in a serious road traffic accident in January 2015, and I sustained multiple injuries. I broke my pelvis in 4 places, broke 4 ribs, damaged my neck. I had a heart attack at the scene of the accident, and then I had to be cut out of the car to be taken to hospital. And fortunately, I don't remember it. I don't remember any of the accident. Roger does, but I don't. So I'll let him tell you about that.
Yes, my name's Roger, and I was driving the car on the 3rd of January 2015. We were going to a party. It was about midday, and it was pouring with rain, and it was a terrible weather, and the M11 was very busy, and we were involved in a multi-car pile-up, and Angela was trapped in the car by a car coming into the side of us, and we couldn't get out of the car, so we had to be cut out of the car, as Angela's mentioned, and that took about an hour, and that was very traumatic too. But finally they got us out, and I went off to the police car to make a statement, and they took Angela into a makeshift tent to carry out emergency surgery to relieve the pressure on her heart from the punctured lung and the broken ribs. And if they hadn't done that there and then, she wouldn't be with us now. We were supposed to be airlifted to the Royal London, but the air ambulance couldn't take off because of the bad weather, so we had to go by road down the M11 to the Royal London, and there they gave her a big blood transfusion because she'd lost a lot of blood in the pelvic area following the accident, and then she went straight into intensive care, and she was there for about 10 days. That's right, because the first time she came round from the
induced coma.
The induced coma was on my birthday, the 12th of January, and it was a wonderful occasion for me that I was able to talk to her again. And so then they operated on the 12th and 13th of January to put 5 rods into her pelvis to hold her together, and then eventually she was moved into the high dependency unit, and finally into the normal orthopaedic and trauma ward, and that was after we were finally discharged from the Royal London and transferred to the Harlow Hospital, Princess Alexandra Hospital in Harlow, and that was a bit traumatic too, because it would have happened unexpectedly. The transfer happened unexpectedly late at night when the ambulances were available, and that was quite difficult. But anyway, we spent about a week at Harlow, and then finally she was transferred home. And again, that was late at night. Luckily, I had arranged for a carer to be available the next day to help us manage. Do you remember any of that?
Little bits, only little bits of it, yes.
So what was it like in those first couple of months when you came home?
Well, it was very difficult because initially I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't stand because of the pelvic injuries. I couldn't wait there for 7 weeks, I think. So it was a wheelchair, and then it was sliding into bed, and sliding or trying to slide back into the wheelchair, So that was very difficult, and the carers helped out with getting me dressed and washed, which was good, but but it was difficult. And after a couple of weeks after I was, well, initially a physio came and helped me get up and walk because I hadn't been able to walk, and she came a couple of times and got me walking, which was amazing that I could, because I really thought I wouldn't have the strength to walk, but I did. But the more amazing thing was a couple of weeks after that, the occupational therapy teams came, and they came every day, 5 days a week for 6 weeks, and helped me initially with small things, and then getting me in the kitchen, and they would be with me while I cooked a meal, and if it wasn't finished by the time they went, they would phone me when the pinger was supposed to go and remind me I'd got to take something out of the oven. And then they took me shopping. Roger had to drive me, obviously, because I couldn't drive, but they would take me and help me get used to going into a shop again and dealing with my money again, because the stroke has left me with a few deficiencies in sort of spatial awareness. I've lost my peripheral vision too. I'm fine if I turn my head to the right, I can then see, but I can't see otherwise peripherally on my right hand side. But that help that I had from the occupational therapist was so encouraging, and so much, hello Angela, they'd come in and, you know, what we're going to do today. And it sort of made me get back into the land of the living, because I just didn't feel I would ever do that, because it's a very depressing time, and you just don't feel you'll manage.
And what was your role in all of this, Roger? You mentioned before it's important to keep your spirits up and keep confidence.
Yes, I had to keep encouraging Angela to keep going, because she, you know, some days she was very down and thought that she'd never get through it and never be able to get back to normal again. And you know, that manifested itself in many ways. But one of the therapists was very good at giving us targets, goals to achieve. And we concentrated on those. One of the things was sorting out the medication, because Angela was on a real cocktail of pills at the time, and it took quite a lot of organising to remember which pills to take at what time. And so
still is a bit tricky.
Initially, yes. Initially, I did that. But the therapist suggested that one of Angela's targets should be to sort out her pills herself, and we eventually achieved that. And
I was a slow learner, though.
Another target was to eventually be able to drive again, because following a stroke, you're obviously not allowed to drive, and so we had to hand in Angela's driving licence, and that was a real blow for Angela, because she's always liked driving, and she felt that she lost her independence, and so it was a long-term objective goal was to be able to drive again.
And I eventually did it, and I had to take a special test, as I'm classified somewhat disabled, and I took the special test, and 2 months ago they gave me my driving licence back, so in theory I can drive, somewhat nervously, but I can drive.